actually had no idea that I really wanted to use voiceover for the film. Being Mr. Filmmaker and thinking that I can do everything, you know, perfect, I said, no, I've got it in the interviews. Everything will be told from people's mouths. They will say everything, the veterans will say everything. And as I get in the edit room, like always, nope, not gonna work.
You know, the Band of Brothers interviews, even those are with the veterans, the men beforehand, and then the documentary itself is mostly sort of anecdotal stories.
Yep,
and
they totally are.
Little chunks of, you know, they tease something up and whack, and then you gotta run with it. Yep. Because they're not telling, you know, grand sweeping stories. They're telling intimate relationship stories.
Reaching their 200th mission on June 17, 1944, the 93rd would return to strategic targets deeper into Germany.
We have a rich, I guess, source you could say is Ted's Traveling Circus book, which was written by a 93rd veteran, and he was there throughout the entire run of the war, basically at Hardwick. And he wrote this book, and it goes mission by mission, basically, of all the missions all the way to the end of the 93rd. So in that, he gets, you know, he puts his sort of personal touch on it.
Up until the Ploesti mission, no other military force was as highly decorated. Every airman on the raid received the Distinguished Flying Cross, dead, alive, or in captivity.
I thought that was super cool to be able to pull from that resource and put that into the film. So once I started getting the book and really just reading the whole book, and I said, all right, I've got to have Cudlitz read some of this or pepper it into his voiceover and then get other talent. I mean, I casted other voiceover talent. As I started doing that, I realized it was going to become much richer. Editing this film and putting this film together, in the beginning when I was presented with this and started working through this project, I literally thought it was going to be a DVD for the group and it would be handed out at reunions. As it started going through the years, even after your involvement and keeping up with you, I don't think I really updated you and where this thing was going. Fast forward, and we get to a screening and we go to the Mighty 8th Air Force Museum, which is in Savannah, Georgia.
National Museum of the Mighty 8th Air Force held a screening of the documentary Return to Hardwick yesterday. Film focuses on the 93rd Bomb Group and their accomplishments. They were the most decorated, the most traveled, and most effective bomber group of World War II.
In my head, I'm like, oh, here's this kid. This, you know, is the grandkid, and he's doing this thing, and he works in the film industry, and and he's doing a documentary about his grandpa, and he loves his grandpa, and he spent some time with him. And so like these are stories that I'm very familiar with the Band of Brothers family, and those reunions. So I was in, and then when I saw it, I was completely blown away. Completely blown away. I was like, holy shit, this is a full-blown Ken Burns, like documentary. This is not just like, I'm putting together a little thing. This is what's the real deal. It doesn't, so far as documentaries go, it doesn't get any more real.
I think every story opens up a door to another story because every individual has their own story, every group has their own story. But there's a moment in this film where one of the vets is talking about how the bombers would go past range and fighter pilots would drop off because they were out of fuel. And that's when the German fighters would come in. And the sort of twinkle in his eye when he starts talking about when the Mustangs were introduced.
And then one day, this guy with a red tail shows up, and it ain't gonna be like it was. And that changed the game completely.
He's like, and then the Mustangs came.
Yeah.
And that little red tail fin. He goes, and that changed everything. And you're like, oh man, I want to know about the Mustangs.
Yeah.
When I go to these events, it's because I know that it will help people be exposed to the stories. And then, sometimes I'm asked to speak, and that's a little weird. Not bad weird, but it's a little weird because it's not my story. So it's like I don't talk to the grandson, talk to the men, but I understand it. I'm not responsible for anything other than hopefully getting other people excited to come see it.